everybody, good morning. So it's a new year. It's 2025 today. Woo! Right? I know some of you probably have DUIs as of this morning, or you're finding out you do. So I had a DUI when I was 25, and this is going to be part 4. There's 3 other parts prior to this, so watch those. It's kind of a funny story, my whole DUI experience. So part 4, I'm in jail doing like the daily life. I actually start like working out a little bit, and it's like weird that like situations like that make you like kind of hyper focus on your life and what you're doing. And so like you got nothing else to do, you know, you start working out a little bit. I started looking super fit, and it was kind of nice. I was eating like 3 meals a day, brushing my teeth every day, which to this day I still don't do that every day. I think jail was a good wake-up call for me. It was a good experience, and I mean, it was terribly boring, and but after you spend 15 to 20 days in jail, it's kind of like starts like that's just your daily life. That's what you know. And so get used to the daily rhythm. I did make this calendar, which I have to show. It was pretty nuts because I started getting like, I don't know, just like I needed something to do to fill my void. So I made this I drew out this calendar with a ruler and made like 31 days and then crossed them off of like how many days I worked and how many days I had left. And so that was nice. I started, you know, like after a while you start talking to some of these dudes a little more in jail, and they're not, you know, they're not half bad. I feel like a lot of people are in jail, you know, just because it's our judicial system, and it's like, it's unfortunate. I mean, some of them definitely deserve to be there, like the bully and the ninja kid. He was kind of crazy, but I don't know, a lot of these dudes are just good old boys, you know, just have a little too much alcohol in their system most of the time. And so yeah, I'm in jail, I'm working out, I'm feeling good, you know. So like there's not much that happens else after the ninja kid. It's just kind of like the countdown, you know, begins. Like I'm like super excited to get out at this point, ready to eat like an actual, you know, meal. And so, you know, I'm counting down the days. The day comes where like I'm getting released, and they say, oh yeah, usually you get released pretty early in the morning. Like it's like as soon as, you know, you wake up basically. And so I'm anxious all night. I'm ready to get out of there at this point. And so I'm up all night thinking about what I'm going to do when I get out. And morning comes. It's like 7:30. I see some people going out. They're like getting out that day because I had some other people. There's some other people with DUIs in there that were basically had the same sentence as me. And so I'm like, oh, nice. I'm going to be next. Come like 12, I was still in there. And so I eat lunch again in jail. I have all my stuff ready. I've been giving my stuff away, like anything left over I had. I gave quite a bit to Pounds. I gave some to like this other indigent guy I met. He didn't have any money, and I kind of felt for him. I was like, yeah, man, I know how that is, not having like coffee and stuff when you first come in. I gave some to my Scrabble buddy I was playing with, and so I'm just sitting there. I think it was about 2 o'clock or 2:30. I actually started like the process of getting out. They called me. I went to go into like the checkout area. I got all my stuff back, which was kind of nice. I did the smart thing and I turned my phone off before I went in, because I didn't know I was going to jail that day, like when I went to court. So luckily my phone was off, so I was able to turn that on and make a call. I don't think the people picking me up knew what time I was getting out. And so, I mean, it's almost like being rebirthed, you know? Like, it's such an experience when you get out of a confinement that you're like, even like 30 days is something that you didn't want to do. It just really makes you appreciate being out, you know? And And if some of you are watching this and you've picked up a DUI charge New Year's, or you're going to, like, just know that, you know, sometimes this is a good thing that's happening to you, and it may seem bad, but I thought it was actually a good experience. I think it's something I needed at the time. It woke me up, made me realize, like, wow, this could have been a lot worse. You know, I could have got way more charges. I could have hurt someone. And so I was really reflective after that. I think the first place we went was Red Robin. I was like, I really wanted this burger from Red Robin, like the one with like the egg on it with everything. Obviously wasn't allowed to drink because I already knew my sentence involved UAs at that point. And like when you get released, they kind of let you know all this other information, like, hey, you got to meet with the probation officer, you're gonna have random UAs, and you owe us a shitload of money. I think the monetary cost was around $10,000, like court fees, cost, and fines, and fees, and restitution, and all that stuff. And then I had random UAs for a solid year. And that was pretty rough, because I've never, like, the way they have it is you pee in front of someone, and you're always taught to, like, not do that, like in school when you grow up, and you're also taught, like, to pee, like, when you're at a urinal, you're taught to, like, stand at the urinal. And so, you know, I'm starting to come to terms with all this stuff. I meet with my probation officer. He actually ends up being a really cool guy. And luckily for me, he was like, I don't know, he probably was a little bit older than me. And he was super chill. And I think the only reason is because every time I come in, he said, he has this fuck up that comes in right before me, and he's always messing up. He's always breaking his parole or probation, and he's always peeing hot, like peeing with drugs in his system. And he's like, man, when you come in here, it's like you don't ever pee hot. You do everything you need to do. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm not going back to jail. I was like, I learned my lesson. You don't even have to worry about me, man. But I did have an issue peeing in front of someone initially. And I found out all sorts of things about that. Like, it got so bad that I thought about joining like a Facebook group for guys with shy urination, where you would go pee in front of them just so I could get used to it. Because the problem was, so you show up to this, it was a halfway house on Colfax, and which was like where people live when they're getting out of prison and stuff, and they also have UAs. And you sit in this waiting room, they call your name, they give you a little cup, and most of the times it was a dude, and he was kind of chill. I still couldn't pee in front of him though, because you basically got to show someone your penis, and you got to pee in this little cup while they're staring at it. It's just like, it's nerve-wracking, you know. And it's not like I have a small Johnson or anything, but it's just like, you know, you don't want people to see your junk. It's kind of weird. And so it was either that guy or this woman, and she was like, no nonsense. Like, so you're standing probably 5 feet back from the urinal, and they give you this cup, and they're like, okay, you start peeing so I can see it, and then you can finish in the urinal, like once you fill up the cup, because like obviously it's a small cup, it goes pretty fast. But it was always hard for me to get started, because you walk in, there's piss all over the floor, and you're basically gonna pee on the floor a little bit, because you make like a stream from the cup to the urinal. And I had a hard time with that. So some days I would sit there for 5 or 6 hours. I couldn't pee. I'm like, I can't pee right now. And so then you go sit back down and wait for them to call you again, which sometimes they'll make you wait for like 30 minutes. Then if you can't pee again, they'll make you wait for like an hour. I sat there all day once needing to pee. And then I found out the little tricks to peeing, like on command. It's just like, one, you need to actually be able to pee. So I was drinking a lot of water at the time, and I never had a hot DUI, but I had a diluted one, because I had drank so much water in order to pee that there was nothing to test in my system. And so I told my probation officer this problem. He's like, well, if you don't do this, you'll have to wear an ankle monitor. You know, you might even have to get interlock on your car. And I was like, well, I don't drive because I don't have a car, and I can't drive anyways. But the ankle monitor thing was like $400 a month at the time. That's it. That was insane to me. I was like, no, I'll pay for these. The UAs were $10 a pop. Sometimes I had to do 3 a week. Sometimes it was more. Sometimes it was only 2 a week. But I had to do that for over a year, which it added up to quite a bit. I don't know how many I ended up doing. I think it was like maybe 170 total. And so after I had that diluted one, I talked to my probation officer about it. He's like, well, you know, a lot of the guys that come in here, they say that the best way to do it is drink Gatorade. So obviously I started buying a lot of Gatorades. I didn't have any real problems with dilute after that, but Gatorades were expensive. And so what I found out is that when you do a UA, they're testing your urine for, I think it's creatinine, which is a byproduct of creatine, I think. If I might be mistaken with that. It's been a long time, but. And so I bought this like creatine powder, and I mixed it with my water, and then I just started drinking that. And it was like $10 for a big jug of it, and that made it way cheaper for me to start like passing UAs on a more frequent. I never drank during that time. I was always super adamant about like, you know, checking everything, like even medicine, made sure it didn't have alcohol. You can't eat like poppy seeds because they test for opiates. And I was like, nope, I'm not messing around with any of this shit. And so you do your UAs, and that went on for a solid year. During that time, I also had to do alcohol therapy. Now, they set me up for alcohol therapy because I was dead honest with the probation officer and the judge and everything. I was at a point in my life where I was just like, okay, I'm going to be honest about everything. And it kind of bit me in the ass a little bit because I told him I had smoked some weed when I was younger. Not a lot, you know, just like, hey, I had smoked weed, and I have more of a problem with alcohol than anything. And I was like, I haven't smoked in a while. My smoking weed was mainly for migraines. I get really bad migraines, and the marijuana would help like curb the pain I got in my stomach from it. But that's, I mean, now, I mean, at the time marijuana was still like, oh, marijuana, you know, but now it's like no one would even care. But I had alcohol therapy, which that was intense. Like those sessions were like $50 a pop. I think I had one every week. So on top of the UAs for $10 a pop, I had alcohol therapy once a week. It was $50 each time. Now I got like a discount because I like requested it. I could have paid for it, but you know, they said, hey, you can fill out this paperwork and see if you qualify. And at the time I wasn't working that much, so they let me have it for $25 a week, which was pretty awesome. But initially I was paying $50 for, I don't know, probably 2 months. But definitely fill that out if you get the chance to, because it'll save you a bunch of money. Now I couldn't drive, so I was riding bikes a lot. Which a lot of this was kind of nice. Like a lot of things that you don't do normally health-wise, you start doing after you get in trouble. And I found that the checks for like the probation officer actually kind of helped me. Like I used it as more of like a therapy thing. So like, you know, a lot of the times I didn't have anyone to talk to, and so about like alcohol or problems I had. And it was kind of nice to have a weekly check-in with a guy that was just kind of like wanting to know about your life and how you were doing and stuff. I felt it was kind of it was just kind of nice for me. I needed that at the time. Funny enough, I saw the probation officer years later. It was like a REI or something. He's like, hey man, how you doing? I was like, good. And he's like, yeah, I quit that job. He's like, it wasn't really for me. And I could tell when he was doing it that it wasn't for him. He wanted to be doing something else. He told me at one point he was trying to get into corrections, like in a jail or something. But you have to start with that first as a probation officer. And so yeah, so I'm going through the motions. I have random UAs. I have alcohol therapy once a week. And now being in there, I thought I had a problem with alcohol, but there were some other people that had way worse issues than me. There were people or girls in there that just were totally fucked. Like they were being raped they had been raped by their dad and then by their uncles, and Now these chicks were like pretty hardcore, wearing ankle monitors and talking about their problems, and I would come around and they would like, "Well, talk about your problems." I'm like, "Well, I like to get drunk and party." And yeah, it made me realize that holy crap, like some people actually have some real problems. And so yeah, I'm going through all that. It's a good long while. It's a good part of your life. It's basically like 2 solid years of dealing with all the alcohol related issues you're gonna have after a DUI. And it affects you down the road too, because like I still like have to worry about jobs and stuff, like because they if they search your history, they'll find it, if it's a driving job or anything. Luckily I do like online sales and I do some other stuff, and so I don't really have to worry about that. I was a painter for a lot of years afterwards, which they didn't really care about my history. But yeah, if you're coping with a DUI, you're dealing with a DUI, just know that you'll get through it, man. Like anything else, like time just kind of keeps going, and eventually you'll be out of that situation, and yeah, it'll all get to a better point for you in your life. And so now, so I'm out of jail. I'm dealing with all the issues with alcohol, the therapy, and that's kind of rounds it out to the end of the story. Upon getting out and dealing with all that, I found out, like, so the person I hit, they were at fault, which was funny because, so like, even though I hit them, they had did an illegal turn in front of me, and they were found more at fault than I was. Now Colorado at the time had a 60-40 law, like whoever's more at fault has to pay more or pay that other person. And so even though I was drunk driving, well, they were too, even though I was like kind of like the one that hit them, they ended up having to pay me for my car and some other insurance shit. I didn't charge for pain or suffering or anything because it didn't really matter to me. But so yeah, and then the other weird part is, like, once you get a DUI and you lose your license for a year, you have to take a driving test again. And now I'm older at this point. I'm like 27, and I have to take a driver's course. I'm in there with like teenage kids that are taking driver's course, and they're like, "Well, who's this old dude in here taking a driver's course?" And some of the laws changed. I actually failed the driving. Well, I didn't fail, but the guy was like, "Yeah, you were speeding like 10 miles an hour over the entire time." The car was actually a weird push start car, and it had like some weird electronic shifting, and I was like, "What the hell is this shit?" Like, I couldn't figure out how to put it in drive initially. I drive old school cars with keys and the shifters that you can push. That way you know what gear it's in. And so that was kind of funny. I got my license back and everything, and I went through all the motions of that. And now I did have to deal with that other court case up in Grand County. That one, I had to go up and talk to the judge there after I got done with the other one, and I had to deal with 2 more days in jail up in Grand County. Now that was a breeze. That was like, I'm in for the weekend. I went up there and stayed at like a nice condo across from the jail. It was like an Airbnb or something. And then I got out 2 days later and got the condo again for a night and took the bus back and forth. So that experience was completely normal. But yeah, that's my story, the DUI story. Sorry it was like so long. It's just like when you make a video that's like over an hour, or 2 hours or whatever this was, people don't watch that long, which is fine. But it's just how I dealt with it, what I went through. Now, everyone's experience is going to be different depending on what your charges are. You could be in a lot worse situation. You could spend more time in jail. Some guy commented about how, like, did you get a lawyer? No, I never got a lawyer because I was in the wrong. I didn't feel like fighting something that I was in the wrong for. And yeah, maybe it could have got me off to some degree, or it dismissed, or like maybe it was going to be some kind of other driving infraction, but I did something wrong and I deserved what I got at the time. So, but yeah, so thanks for watching. Peace out. Oh, and Happy New Year. Bye.